I will not lose the company my husband started 8 weeks after taking it over.
You don't know how this business works. You think you do, but you don't. And you damn sure don't know who you got in business with. Not bad.
There's fucking dead bodies everywhere.
Landman. Season 2, Episode 6 doesn't just move the story forward, it blows it open. This is the episode where quiet decisions turn into permanent consequences, where loyalty starts cracking under pressure, and where power shifts in ways no one can take back. By the end of this hour, every major character is standing on different ground than where they started, and some of them don't even realize how close they are to losing everything. Landman. Season 2, Episode 6 changes everything because it finally exposes the truth hiding underneath months of damage control, half-answers, and denial. For Cammy Norris, this episode marks the moment where survival stops being about paperwork and starts becoming about identity. She truly believed the worst was already behind her. After the offshore blowout, after the headlines, after the endless meetings with lawyers and insurers, she thought the chaos had burned itself out. But Episode 6 proves that the real danger was never the explosion itself. It was what came after. When Billenden arrives with a brutal 45-day deadline to begin redrilling the Louisiana well, the situation instantly shifts from financial stress into full-blown legal exposure. This isn't just about fixing a mistake anymore. This is about criminal liability, about the kind of pressure that doesn't just cost money, but freedom. In one meeting, Cammy learns the most devastating truth yet. The $400 million settlement she believed was safely locked away doesn't actually exist in the way she thought. The money had been rerouted through Monty's separate corporate structure, scattered across private equity investments that can't simply be liquidated. Getting that money back would take months, possibly longer, and cost resources the company no longer has. The lawyers don't soften the blow. They don't pretend there's an easy fix. They lay out the only clean option left on the table: bankruptcy. On paper, MTEX might survive, but everything Monty built would be stripped down, sold off, and handed over piece by piece. For Cammy, that option feels like losing her husband all over again. Bankruptcy isn't just a legal move to her. It's an erasure. It means the company that started in a garage, the thing that carried Monty's name and vision, would no longer belong to them in any real sense. Before Cammy can give an answer, Tommy steps in and finally unloads the weight he's been carrying alone. He tells her about the cartel-linked mineral rights, about how close those negotiations came to killing him, and about how Galino inserted himself as the solution when everything was falling apart. Tommy doesn't argue emotionally. He argues practically. He explains how accepting Galino's loan would look from the outside, how leasing minerals might be forgivable, but a $400 million loan ties them directly to money laundering in the eyes of federal investigators. To Tommy, the risk is enormous and uncontrollable. To Cammy, the alternative is unthinkable. And that's where the real fracture begins. Cammy draws a line that can't be undone. She refuses bankruptcy outright, declares she will not lose her husband's company weeks after taking control, and accepts Galino's offer without hesitation. Then she delivers the sentence that changes her relationship with Tommy forever. From now on, she says, meetings come to her. In that moment, Cammy stops being the grieving widow trying to hold things together and becomes the unquestioned authority. Tommy isn't just disagreed with, he's sidelined. And Episode 6 makes it painfully clear that this shift in power will cost him far more than his influence. What makes Landman Season 2, Episode 6 feel so heavy is not just what happens, but how quietly the damage spreads. Galino doesn't celebrate his win, doesn't raise his voice, and doesn't need to threaten anyone. His confidence is unsettling because it's calm, controlled, and completely assured. When Tommy tries one last time to push back, to reject the partnership and protect what little distance still exists between MTEX and Galino's world, Galino shuts it down with a single sentence. He tells Tommy that he is the solution. Not a solution, the solution. And as much as Tommy hates hearing it, he knows it's true. Episode 6 makes that truth impossible to ignore. Galino understands leverage better than anyone in the room, and he knows that desperation always bends people toward him eventually. Cammy's refusal to declare bankruptcy doesn't feel reckless to Galino. It feels predictable. He knows pride when he sees it, and he knows how to use it. What makes this episode especially painful is how it begins isolating Tommy in ways he can't openly fight. In the next stretch of the story, Tommy accompanies Cammy and Galino to a rodeo, and this seemingly casual event becomes one of the most emotionally brutal moments of the episode. Standing beside them, Tommy watches in real time as Cammy laughs, relaxes, and connects with Galino in ways she hasn't with him for a long time. It isn't romantic, but it is intimate. And that distinction doesn't make it hurt any less. Tommy feels like an outsider looking in on a life he used to be central to. Galino, fully aware of what he's doing, subtly deepens the wedge. He charms Cammy effortlessly while dropping comments that plant doubt about Tommy's judgment, his motives, and his relevance. At the same time, he needles Tommy with remarks designed to unsettle him, hinting at Cammy's independence and subtly questioning Tommy's authority. He plays both sides with surgical precision, never crossing a line that could be openly confronted, but always pushing just enough to create tension. This isn't chaos, it's strategy. Tommy feels it building in his chest, that tight knot of helplessness that comes from knowing the danger, but having no clean way to stop it. He's torn between protecting Cammy from a man he doesn't trust and protecting the life and career he's spent decades building. Episode 6 makes it clear that he may not be able to do both. Every choice now comes with a cost, and the margin for error is gone. Galino's presence doesn't just threaten the company, it threatens Tommy's sense of purpose. He's always been the man who sees the angles first, who understands the rules better than anyone else in the room. But Galino plays a different game, one where legality and morality blur together until they're barely recognizable. And the most terrifying part is that Cammy is starting to see Galino not as a threat, but as a necessary ally. That shift doesn't happen loudly. It happens in glances, in laughter, in decisions made without Tommy in the room. By the time the rodeo ends, the damage is already done. Tommy doesn't lose his job in this episode, but he feels it slipping through his fingers. Landman. Season 2, Episode 6 doesn't just show us a power struggle. It shows us how easy it is for someone to be pushed out of their own world without ever being formally removed. While the power struggle between Cammy, Tommy, and Galino simmers beneath the surface, Landman. Season 2, Episode 6 delivers another quiet but devastating blow through Cooper's storyline, and this one hits close to home. Cooper walks into this episode believing he's finally made it. In his mind, he struck oil not just in the ground, but in life itself. He sees independence, fast money, and freedom from living in his father's shadow. That fantasy lasts right up until breakfast at the Patch Cafe. Sitting across from his son, Tommy doesn't explode, doesn't lecture, and doesn't try to scare him. He does something far more effective. He tells the truth. Calmly and without emotion, Tommy explains that having oil means nothing if you don't have an operation. No LLC, no accountants, no plan for debt, payroll, or long-term liability. Cooper thought instinct and luck were enough. Tommy dismantles that belief piece by piece. He tells him flat out that he doesn't understand how this business really works, even if he thinks he does. Then he turns to the deal Cooper signed with Galino and exposes it for what it truly is. On paper, it looks impressive, almost brilliant. Tommy shows him how every clause, every deadline, every financial trigger was designed to benefit only one side. Cooper was never meant to win. He was meant to be useful. As the reality sinks in, you can see the confidence drain out of Cooper completely. The future he imagined collapses in real time, replaced by the understanding that he's trapped in an agreement he can't escape on his own. This moment is especially painful because it mirrors Tommy's larger struggle. Just like Cooper, Cammy believes she's making a strong, decisive move by aligning with Galino. And just like Cooper, she may not yet see how carefully the trap has been constructed. But unlike Cammy, Cooper is saved before it's too late. Tommy steps in immediately. MTEX buys Cooper's leases, cancels the note, and absorbs the financial hit. A total collapse is avoided in a matter of minutes. The solution feels fast, almost too clean, and that's intentional. Episode 6 isn't interested in celebrating Cooper's rescue. It's interested in showing how close he came to losing everything. Tommy doesn't let Cooper walk away unchanged. He makes sure the lesson sticks. He explains what a real landman makes, not just in salary, but in opportunity. He tells Cooper that instincts are valuable, but only when paired with a deep understanding of the rules. You have to know the system to bend it, and you have to master it to break it. Cooper doesn't look relieved or excited when he accepts the job offer. He looks humbled. For the first time, reality catches up to him, and it reshapes his entire trajectory. This isn't just a career correction, it's a shift in identity. Cooper is no longer chasing a shortcut, he's being forced to grow up. And episode 6 makes it clear that this hard lesson is only the beginning. The same man who saved him today may not be able to protect him tomorrow, especially as Galino's influence continues to spread. In that sense, Cooper's story becomes a warning echoed throughout the episode. Deals that look easy are rarely free, and the cost always comes due, whether you're ready to pay it or not. Landman. Season 2, Episode 6 doesn't slow down after Cooper's wake-up call. Instead, it tightens the pressure even further by forcing him to confront something far bigger than bad deals and lost money. Responsibility. For the first time in forming his choices, Cooper is no longer just thinking about himself. The weight of Ariana, marriage, and the life they are building together starts pressing down on him all at once, and this episode makes it painfully clear that he is not emotionally prepared for how heavy that weight truly is. Spending time with Ariana's baby shakes him in a way nothing else has. Holding that child forces a realization Cooper has been running from since the moment he started chasing oil on his own. He's not just stepping into a career anymore, he's stepping into fatherhood. Not someday, not in theory, right now. Episode 6 captures this shift quietly, without dramatic speeches or exaggerated emotion. Cooper doesn't say much, but you can feel the internal panic setting in. Two massive life changes are colliding at the same time. And he's still so young, still learning who he even is. The responsibility feels overwhelming, and that's exactly the point. Cooper has always learned the hard way by being thrown directly into the fire with no safety net. This episode doesn't soften that pattern. Instead, it doubles down on it. But what makes this moment different is Ariana. Through all the uncertainty, she stays beside him. She doesn't pressure him, doesn't demand certainty he can't give. She simply exists as a constant, grounding presence. That support becomes the difference between Cooper collapsing under the weight and slowly learning how to carry it. By the end of the episode, something fundamental shifts between them. They begin talking seriously about their wedding, not as a distant idea, but as a real, immediate future. It's not romanticized or idealized, it's practical, heavy, and real, which makes it feel earned. At the same time, Episode 6 mirrors Cooper's internal struggle with what's happening to Tommy. Both men are facing the same brutal truth from different angles. The rules they thought protected them no longer do. Tommy's authority is slipping away quietly, while Cooper's freedom is disappearing just as silently. Tommy watches his son step into responsibility at the exact moment he's being pushed out of the role he's always occupied. There's a tragic symmetry to it. Tommy can still fix problems, still save people from collapsing deals, but he can't stop the larger shift happening around him. Galino's influence continues to expand, not through force, but through inevitability. The company needs him. Cammy believes she needs him. And that belief is reshaping everything. Episode 6 makes it clear that even good intentions can lead to devastating outcomes when the power balance changes. Cooper's growth doesn't feel like a victory because it comes at the cost of innocence. Tommy's sacrifices don't feel noble because they may ultimately be pointless. And Cammy's strength doesn't feel triumphant because it isolates her from the very people trying to protect her. This episode sits in that uncomfortable space where progress and loss happen at the same time. Nothing fully breaks yet, but the cracks are deep enough that you know collapse is inevitable. Landman. Season 2. Episode 6 isn't about explosions or sudden betrayals. It's about slow, irreversible change, the kind that feels manageable in the moment but devastating in hindsight. By the time Landman Season 2 Episode 6 reaches its final moments, the full weight of what has changed finally settles in, and it's impossible to ignore how irreversible it all feels. This episode doesn't end with a cliffhanger explosion or a shocking reveal. It ends with something far more unsettling: clarity. Every major character now understands the position they're in, even if they refuse to admit how dangerous it has become. Cammy stands firmly in her new role, confident, decisive, and unmoving. She believes she has taken control of chaos, that by refusing bankruptcy and accepting Galino's deal, she has protected her husband's legacy and secured the company's future. But Episode 6 quietly suggests that control may be an illusion. Power doesn't just come from making decisions, it comes from understanding who truly benefits from them. And Galino benefits from all of this. He has embedded himself into MTEX so deeply that removing him now would feel impossible. He doesn't need Cammy to trust him completely, he only needs her to believe she has no better option. And right now, she does. Tommy, meanwhile, is left standing in the most dangerous position of all. He knows exactly how bad this situation can become, but his ability to intervene is slipping away. He's no longer the man shaping outcomes. He's reacting to them. Episode 6 makes it painfully clear that this is what hurts him the most. Not the loss of authority, but the loss of purpose. He's spent his life understanding systems, reading people, and staying 3 steps ahead. Now, for the first time, he's watching events unfold that he can't stop. Even saving Cooper feels bittersweet because it highlights how limited his influence has become everywhere else. Cooper's future may be back on track, but Tommy's own is increasingly uncertain. And Cooper himself ends the episode in a completely different emotional space than where he began. The excitement is gone, replaced by responsibility, humility, and a quiet fear of what's coming next. He's no longer chasing fast money or shortcuts. He's preparing for marriage, fatherhood, and a career that demands discipline instead of instinct alone. That growth feels necessary, but it's heavy, and Episode 6 doesn't pretend otherwise. Ariana's presence gives him strength, but it doesn't erase the pressure. It simply makes it survivable. What ties all of these stories together is the episode's central truth. Change doesn't ask for permission. It arrives slowly, through decisions that feel reasonable in the moment, and by the time you recognize the cost, it's already too late to turn back. Landman, Season 2, Episode 6 changes everything, not because it resolves conflict, but because it locks the characters into paths they can't easily escape. Cammy has chosen pride and preservation over caution. Tommy has chosen loyalty over control. Cooper has chosen responsibility over illusion. And Galino has positioned himself as the man who wins no matter which path they take. The game has changed, and the rules are no longer written by the people who think they're in charge. From this point forward, every victory will come with a loss attached to it, and every solution will create a new problem waiting just beneath the surface. Episode 6 doesn't promise disaster, but it makes one thing unmistakably clear: nothing will ever be simple again. Landman, Season 2, Episode 6 ultimately lands as the moment where inevitability replaces hope, and that shift is what makes this episode feel so haunting long after it ends. There is no single decision that breaks everything, no dramatic mistake that can be easily blamed. Instead, the damage is spread across a series of choices that all make sense in isolation. Cammy chooses strength because weakness feels unacceptable. Tommy chooses silence because fighting would only accelerate his removal. Cooper chooses responsibility because illusion has finally failed him. And Galino chooses patience because he understands that time is the most powerful weapon in any negotiation. What episode 6 does so effectively is show how these choices quietly trap everyone involved. Cammy believes she is honoring Monty's legacy, but she may be unknowingly rewriting it. The company may survive, but the spirit of how it was built is already changing. Decisions are no longer guided by long-term trust or shared history, but by urgency and survival. Tommy feels this shift more than anyone. He watches the culture he helped build bend towards something colder and more transactional, and he knows that once that transformation is complete, there will be no place left for him. His warnings are no longer welcomed, his instincts are no longer prioritized, and the most painful part is that he understands exactly how this ends, but can't convince anyone to slow down long enough to see it. Episode 6 turns Tommy into a man haunted by foresight, cursed with knowledge but stripped of authority.